Okay, last time we were learning the customs and the laws of getting married. So we started this last time, that the custom is to do the chuppah under the sky. Why? Because it's a simon, the stars, like he told them, the children will be like the stars. There's a bracha. Generally speaking, that is the custom that's done usually by a first wedding. If it's a second wedding, then the custom is you do the chuppah inside. Not that you're not allowed to do it outside, but the custom is to do it inside. But there's another interesting question which is discussed in halacha. I know today most people allow it, that's why people do it. The question is, are you allowed to do a chuppah inside a shul? In the sanctuary of a shul, it's a big room, it's nice. Is somebody allowed to do a chuppah inside a shul? So again, a lot of people permit it, and today that's why many people make a chuppah inside a shul. But it's not so easy. According to many opinions, you're not allowed to make a chuppah inside a shul. First of all, they call it the Chupas hagoy. The goyim. The goyim make a chuppah in a church. So the Jews wanted a copy of that, so they make a chuppah inside a shul. By Jews, the chuppah was always outside. That you see even the old pictures, the drawings and the paintings of chuppah, they always did it outside. So there are some people that scream about making a chuppah inside, but bottom line is, again, today a lot of people, a lot of poskim, and that's most places they accept doing it in inside. Okay. Okay. Now again, but generally speaking, a chuppah is allowed to be made inside. In our circles, in Chabad, the custom is we do a chuppah outside, even if it's snowing, pouring, raining, freezing, boiling hot, whatever the situation is. Our custom is we make a chuppah only outside, and it doesn't matter what the weather is like. On the contrary, if it rains at the time of a chuppah, it's a bracha, it's gishmei bracha. It's a rain of a bracha. So, but again, the poskim write that if it's a second marriage, then usually it's done inside. Okay, next is like this. I'm saying, again, most poskim today hold, it's some sefer that says no, and the Ksaf sefer says not, other poskim say not, but the pearl in today's world, the people do it inside the shul. Okay, that's that. Next. Because the second marriage is not the same inyan of a bracha of children and all that as it is by a first wedding. Now this second marriage that we're talking about, by the way, is only when it's a second marriage for both. If either one of them is the first time marriage, it has the same din like a regular first time marriage. Doesn't matter if the chosin never got married or the kala never got married. If it's first time for either of them, then you have Sheva Brachos 7 days. All the works. But some say, for other people say that the minig is you make it inside by a second. Again, the reason is because it's not the same level of a bracha like it is the first wedding.
Even if it's both the second marriage for both,
the minig is still not. Again, not that you're not allowed to. Many people just like to make it outside. It's nicer if the weather is good. It's not a problem. Okay, now ideally, the woman has to go to mikvah before the wedding. Okay, that she should be able to have intimacy and all that. But years ago, nowadays it says in halacha that people do it even if it's chatchil, if she's going to be impure and nida. But because then if it's a chupas nida, there's a number of issues you have to keep in mind that we'll discuss in a second. But now the question is, what is the criteria for a rabbi to be able to officiate at a wedding? What are the criteria for a rabbi to be able to officiate at a wedding? So number one, it's obvious they both have to be Jewish. Or by the way, it's interesting, this happens sometimes, you get a question, two non-Jews are getting married, boy and girl, two non-Jews are getting married, and they want a rabbi to officiate. So obviously you can't do a Jewish wedding, you can't make brachas, you can't do all that, but the clergy can officiate legally. A clergy has the ability to do a wedding. So there's nothing wrong with the rabbi doing a chuppah for two goyim. Now obviously, if it's two men that want to get married, even if they're not Jewish, then a rabbi cannot perform the wedding because it's one of the Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach is that you can't have homosexuality. So a rabbi wouldn't be allowed to perform such a marriage because it's not allowed for them either. But stam, if it's two goyim. So the first criteria is, number one, that they're Jewish. Sometimes you have to really check into it to prove that they're actually Jewish. Second thing, you have to make sure they were never married before. Because if they were ever married before, they have to find out were they widowed or was there a divorce, and if there is a get, is it a kosher get, not a kosher get, was it written according to halacha, was it not written according to halacha? That also has that to be taken into consideration. But now the question is like this: what happens if, let's say, a woman refuses to go to the mikveh? A bride says, "I'm not going to the mikveh." That's it. Can a rabbi officiate? From rabbi can officiate such a wedding? So there's a whole argument in halachos. Many poskim say you're not allowed to do the wedding, and some people say you could do the wedding if they promise to go once to the mikveh. So that's in different circles, they have different customs. But it's interesting, I mentioned this many times, when my father became a Rav many years ago, way before I did, way before I was born, he went into the previous Rebbe, and he asked the Rebbe for criteria of what he's allowed to do as a Chabad rabbi, what he could do for a chuppah. And what the previous Rebbe told me is interesting. He said if the food's not kosher, you can't do the wedding. That means the chuppah, the meal of the wedding has to be, a lot of times people, not serving kosher food, but they want a rabbi to officiate. So the Frierdiker told my father clearly that if the food's not kosher, you can't officiate at the wedding. Which, by the way, didn't exclude mikveh, but whatever. But that's a separate issue. But it happens many times, they want to make. Now, so when people ask me, I say, listen, I'm a fanatic about this because that's what the previous Rebbe told my father, so I'm not going to say anything different. But what happens if they'll say they want to do a chuppah in your Chabad house? Want to do a chuppah in your Chabad. Later they're going out, who knows where, to a restaurant. So then it's a different story. Then it's a different place. It's a completely different issue. Ideally, what you should do is, you should try after the chuppah that 10 people or 7 people eat wash. You can make a deli sandwich. They should quickly eat something, and then they could at least make sheva brachas. Because the sheva brachas, that night of the wedding, is mandatory. That's the only sheva brachas that you must have. Now everybody knows, or they think, that when you get married for the first time, you have to have Sheva Brachas for 7 days. There's no Tachnun, you have 7, which is incorrect. The only Sheva Brachas which is an obligation that you must do is the meal at the wedding. All the other days you don't need to make Sheva Brachas. If you have 10 people, and 7 people washed, and you have a new face, because the new face causes more joy, except Shabbos. So then you're allowed to make Sheva Brachas. There's no obligation. People have a misunderstanding with this. There's no obligation that you must make Sheva Brachas 7 days. Some people like to make Sheva Brachas 7 days. Why not? But there's no obligation. You missed today, you missed today. Big deal. So what?
Sheva Bracha even for second marriage as well, you do Sheva Bracha?
Sheva Brachas second marriage is only the night of the wedding. After the meal. And by the way, that's also not so simple. Because according to many opinions, second marriage for both, you could only make Sheva Brachas if the meal ended on the same day that the chuppah was. Let's say the chuppah was 4 o'clock, and then the meal ended 7, 8 o'clock, and it's already night, like these days, right? There are opinions that say you can't make Sheva Brachas if it's second marriage for both. The minig is that they do. But I'm just saying, that's not as mandatory as first-time marriage for either of them. Then if you want, you can make Sheva Brachas for 7 days. What?
Second marriage in 3 days? Or
Second marriage, there's no, Sheva Brachas is only the night of the wedding. 3 days versus 7 days is that if the chosim's in shul for second time for both. For the first 3 days, the minyan doesn't say tachnun. For 3 days, he's not supposed to go to work. He's supposed to stay home. A person who gets married, halachically, is not allowed to go to work for 7 days. And you can make Sheva Brachas 7 days, and it's 3 days versus 7 days. But Sheva Brachas for a second wedding for both is only the night of the wedding, that's it. You don't make Sheva Brachas for 3 days. Whoever does or thinks so is incorrect, according to halacha. But it means the 3 days is that they stay home, they don't go to work, if they go to shul, there's no tachnun and things like that. Okay, no, I'm just saying, if the kala ends up to be a nida, impure at the time of the wedding, there's various different changes you do in the wedding that you wouldn't do by a regular wedding. So you don't make a proper yichud. He has to be careful when he puts on the ring not to touch her. He doesn't hand the ksuba over to the kala, which they normally do. The rabbi gives the ksuba to the kala. There's just various different things that if the woman's a nida, how you do the wedding. Okay. Okay.